Hi folks, I'm Dave Gallus, I'm your host, and this is We the People. There's been a lot of unrest in our country, and it's come to New Mexico. We have rioting in New Mexico, in Albuquerque. It's not that far away, folks. You know, one of my main platforms is security, safety, and rioting is not part of that. So we really need to understand what's going on in our country, and I'll try to break it down as the show goes on. So we have laws, and we have to follow those laws. If we don't follow those laws, we have anarchy. And you know, I read a book, one of my favorite authors is Ernest Hemingway. And one of the books that I loved was True at First Light. And it's a story about how a man's character is revealed through trial. And one of the statements that was in there that made so much sense to me, especially now, because we have people that are angry because they feel of police injustice. We have people that are able to be manipulated by that anger. There is evil behind that. There's an evil, I would say, that is actually pushing a narrative to try and force other people, maybe not so much weak-minded, but maybe don't know what's really going on behind the scenes. So anyway, this statement makes a lot of sense to me. It's about how you have to follow the laws. Sometimes you can't. And I think some of the rioters, some of the good-meaning rioters, are frustrated, so they take it out with violence. But Ernest Hemingway said, "A man must comport himself as a man. He must fight always preferably and soundly with the odds in his favor, but on necessity against any sort of odds, with no regard for the outcome. He should follow his tribal laws and customs insofar as he can, and accept the tribal discipline when he cannot." So I would say that the people that have been led astray, that are criminals, that have made criminal acts, need to be held accountable. So I see a lot of criminal activity throughout our country, and again, like I said, it came to Albuquerque, and Las Cruces isn't far from Albuquerque. So we have some photos I'd like to bring up on the screen. The one where it kind of started that I can recall, the UC Berkeley campus, where Milo Yiannopoulos was supposed to speak on campus, and the Antifa group didn't want him to speak. Now, that was his freedom of speech, his First Amendment right, freedom of speech. They didn't want him to speak, so that's a violation right there. And as you can see on your screen, this is Antifa. This is an Antifa that's anti-fascist. However, to me, it looks like they are actually promoting what they're trying to complain about. Then we have, there's another UC Berkeley video or photo where you can see actually what happens when this gets out of control. I think we have a third one that shows you these people in their full-blown hatred that I'm not even sure they understand. Some do, some don't. They just get fueled into the fire of hatred. And you got to wonder who's fueling that fire. We have other photos. Portland, Oregon is one. Now, Portland, Oregon, we have a police cruiser or two police cruisers that are set ablaze. Now, these policemen could probably fire into the crowd with, they would be fully justified, I would think, when people are attacking them to take deadly force. But they don't. So this idea of police brutality, systematic, it doesn't make sense to me. And I would know. I was a policeman for 25 years in Philadelphia. And I've been in a few riots. And I know how things can get out of hand. But you have to control the situation. Now, I don't think the mayor in Seattle, Washington, we have another photo. This is Seattle. Now, the police are holding the line, you can see, and you have barricades lit on fire. Now, the mayor of that city seems to think that we'll get through this because it could be just a summer of love. They've taken over 6 to 8 blocks of Seattle. Now, that doesn't seem to me like they're in control. And how about the people that are inside that area? There's been murders, rapes, robberies. There is no police there. And so when they start talking about getting rid of the police, who are you going to call? Are you going to call the Antifa thugs to take care of any problems? They're probably the ones that are victimizing the folks inside of the what would you say? I forget what it's called, Chop Zone in Seattle. So we have a couple videos too. And it's kind of sickening to see what really can happen when people are out of hand. Now, the first video is about it's a man that is attacked by a group. Now, it looks like he's gotten out of his car to defend his family that's in the car with a hockey stick. Well, that doesn't go too well, and you'll see in the video where he takes a pretty good beating. I think he survived this. So the whole idea is that once this starts, this is like a frenzy. This is outside of a Target. This man was beaten unmercifully. Now, but this isn't isolated. We have another one. There was another video. We don't have that one about a woman in a wheelchair. That even sickens me to see it. But the next video, it's a woman that is trying to defend her shop, and she's attacked by thugs when they're knocking out her windows, and she speaks out against it. Her husband's inside. When she speaks out against it, the thugs start beating her. The husband comes out trying to defend his wife. That's a video will be coming up next. He's trying to defend his wife with not a hockey stick, with a golf club, and they both get beaten. And you'll hear the man holler, I think, in the background when this video comes up. He's trying to say, "Leave my wife alone. Stop hitting my wife." And it's just sickening when you think of this can happen, and it does happen. Now, imagine if you take the police out of that situation. You have no control whatsoever. Like I said, being a policeman on the street, I understand. I guess we don't have that video, but so okay, here it is. They're busting up this storefront, and there's a white couple that are trying to defend their store. That's a woman being beaten by the fellow in the orange jacket. The husband is going to come out with a golf club trying to defend his wife, and they beat him back with a 2x4, a long board. It's a wonder they even survived this, and I think they did. So folks, this is what can go on in our city, in our state, and it happened in Albuquerque. There was a shooting in Albuquerque. We'll show that later. But I was on a TV show, or a radio show, I'm sorry, with Peter Goodman and Walt Rubel. I had to call in. It was pretty poor communication. But anyway, they asked me a question. They said, "Do you think these riots are grassroots?" I had to laugh. I said, "They're not grassroots. They're well organized and highly funded." Now, this group, it started with Black Lives Matter, and then Antifa is part of that. So there's this evil that I believe is behind it that funds it. Now, we have some photos of Antifa, and as you look at the photos that we have of Antifa, you tell me if this is organized. This right here is this is the Seattle police station that was taken over, and this is the mayor in Seattle who seems to think this is going to be a summer of love. And then we have another one, I believe, in Seattle, and here's the mayor, and again, she's satisfied that there's no problem here, we'll take care of it. Well, they're not taking care of it, and I have no doubt whatsoever that the president is going to have to come in and straighten this out, because obviously these can't. And I want you to remember something. These people in these cities where it's being taken over are run by Democrats. Now, I have a lot of Democratic friends. I've gone to many dialogues in Las Cruces, New Mexico State University. Randy Lynch he brings people together through dialogue. We talk. We don't fight, we talk. And to my Democratic friends who I engage with in these dialogues, I want you to start really thinking about what it is you're promoting through the Democratic Party, because as far as I'm concerned, the Democratic Party is not the Democratic Party of years ago. It has been taken over, and I won't say progressive, although they use that label. To me, it's regressive. The regressive socialists have taken over the party. We had some people, some Democrats in our state legislature, John Arthur Smith and Mary Kay Papin, really decent people. But they were too conservative for the new regressive socialist Democratic Party. So I think most people have traditional values, but it's gone astray, folks. You have to really recognize that. And when you go to the voting booth, know what you're voting for. So again, if you look at the different party affiliations, which party is a party of division? Where do you hear hate coming from? Where do you hear division coming from? Where do you hear the separation of the sexes through the We Too movement? Where do you hear the separation of the races with the Black Lives Matter now? Where are they? The Democratic Party is creating this divide. Now, how would Martin Luther King handle the peaceful protest? The peaceful protest started out in Minneapolis after George Floyd was killed. That started out peaceful. But I see you have the Antifa, you have the Black Lives Matter movement. They're taking over the whole narrative. So my idea of security and safety, it starts with safety in your homes, personal safety when you're in your communities, the safety of your children in their schools, the safety of an invasion from a foreign country. Although the United States is surrounded by water for the most part, we do have two borders, Canada and Mexico. And you know, when I think about the border situation, that's a biggie. Our governor, our new governor, Grisham, she was only in office a month when she decided that we don't need borders, we don't need a wall down on our southern border. So she pulled the National Guard troops off of our southern border, along with the 6 other states that sent National Guard troops to defend our border down there. Now, you don't hear too much from the Democratic Party, and again, I'm not trying to attack my friends that are Democrats, but the party has been hijacked. So, you're not hearing too much from the regressive socialist end of the Democratic Party about the border wall. You know why? Because now they've promoted the idea that COVID-19 is deadly, and there is no control about people coming into our country from the southern border unless you have a wall, you have a way to stop them. So this is all the reasoning that I have that makes sense to me. If you really think logically about the progression of the way things are going, to me it's kind of clear as to what party is fueling this. And that party is being funded by the evil that I say is behind all of it. George Soros is probably one of them, probably one of the biggest funders. This Antifa stuff is not, it's not grassroots, folks. So, when you're talking about personal protection, what party is saying that they want to take your Second Amendment rights away? Now, they'll say, okay, no, if you have reason, if you have mental incapacity or you have a chance that you could hurt someone else, then we have to make sure that you don't have the chance to do that with a firearm. So they're going to take your firearm away by someone that may or may not have the right motive for having your gun removed, and then you can't defend yourself for a crime you never committed, but they're saying you could commit. All right, we'll come back in a little bit. We're going to take a break. We'll continue to talk about security and the idea that rioting has come to New Mexico. Be right back.
Horizon Granite is here. We'll come to you to customize your kitchen and bathroom with beautiful countertops and cabinets. Find out more at horizongranite.com. Call us at 575-650-3180.
Horizon Granite is here.
It's here.
Make yourself a beautiful home.
Hi, I'm Ray Bamberg with Here on Earth. I would like to invite you for a free hearing evaluation to our office. We've been here in southern New Mexico for 34 years helping people hear better.
They've stormed beaches and freed countries. They've raised our flag and our hope. They've been called leathernecks. They've been called devil dogs. But above all, they're called Marines.
Hi folks, this is Dave Gallus back. This is We the People. It's a relatively new show, and I happen to be running for New Mexico State Senate in District 37. And I'm running because I'm not happy with the way our country's going, and I want to make a change for the better. I want to respect you folks, listen to what you have to say, tell you what I think, which is what I'm doing on this TV show, and then we can come to some solutions. But you have to have the right people in office, because if you don't, that's why we have the anarchy that we're finding today. So we're talking about security, but really the name of the show is Rioting Has Come to New Mexico. It's in Albuquerque. It can come here. We have a democratically controlled city, county, and state. That's not a good combination. So the Democrats want to take your guns away. And if you can't protect yourself, do you expect the police are going to protect you? The police are under fire as it is. We've got a picture. Right here. This is the problem here. This is who wants to take over. This is Antifa. Now, the police department is battling against Antifa, anti-fascist. Now, you mean to tell me this is a grassroots organization? Look at this uniform, military-style equipment that they have. I don't think it's grassroots. This is well-organized, well-funded, and it's very dangerous to our country. It'll take our country away from us if we allow it. Now, don't expect, here you have, this is actually on the internet, and it shows you what Antifa's platforms are and how they can organize. They get people stirred up. They're using right now the Black Lives Matter issue, black people being oppressed by policemen, so they say. But I'll guarantee that if you talk to the people that are stuck in these communities where Antifa has taken over, they want the police there. They don't want Antifa. But if you get rid of the police, which some are being eliminated, if you get rid of the police, who's going to protect you? The Democratic Party wants to take away your guns. So the policemen are already under fire. We have a photo of a Dallas incident where it was Black Lives Matter, which is hand in hand with Antifa, but this is all part and parcel to what goes on. Now, in Dallas, there was 12 policemen shot. There were snipers shooting at policemen. Now, snipers. I mean, is this grassroots? I don't think so. In that, let's see, we had 5 policemen were killed in Dallas. I think it was about 5 years ago. That was the beginnings of this. Here's the photo of that. They were protecting themselves. They were protecting the people, but they were also being shot as they were trying to protect the people. So, you know, I talk about different types of security, the security of our schools and our children. Don't hear too much about that anymore, and that's because our schools are shut down along with our businesses. Now, I personally don't think that the trouble is as big as it's being made out to be by our governor. Now, we hear a lot about the people that are infected, but how about comparing that to the number of deaths that we have? There are very few deaths, comparatively speaking, and they're isolated to a certain area. I think we've had 3 deaths in Doñana County. They shut the whole county down. And they don't tell us how many people that died of the coronavirus had no underlying medical issues. So you got to really listen to what's being said, and don't just go to one source. Go to a lot of different sources. Use your common sense, use reasoning and critical thinking to understand what's really going on. Back to the border issue, we had our governor get rid of our National Guard. And now the issue with COVID-19 makes that a ridiculous point to try and say that we don't need borders. You know, back in, I guess it was, I forget what year it was, when Ellis Island was bringing people into our country. But Ellis Island, as you can see, it's an isolated area where people have to come in by ship, and they're actually quarantined. They're checked for medical issues. They're checked to see if they are going to be contributors to our society. Are they going to become U.S. citizens? When you have people overrunning our border, and I think we have a picture of what happens in El Paso, and also the southern border, the people that are coming up from Central America that want to cross our border to violate our security of our border, they're coming in masses. I think we have a photo of the masses that are coming up from Central and South America. But then we also have people that are overrunning our border in El Paso. So you got to wonder, who is going to benefit from open borders? My reasoning is, why do they want people to come in? Now, the good liberals, Democrats want to help people that need help. No doubt about it. We all do. But how do you do that? How would a person feel if they're waiting in line to get across the border or to get citizenship for years for them and their family, and then you have a mob that just crosses over when they choose to? What's the reasoning? My idea is that these are potential votes in the future. This is where the Democratic Party can make you feel like you're doing something for someone when actually you're hurting the people that are following the rules, following our laws, crossing into our country legally. And they're checked for, well, this is El Paso. This is a mob coming across in El Paso. So you have to wonder what the reasoning is. To me, it's potential voters. It's also to increase the number of congressional seats, because the more population you have, the more seats you'll have representation in Congress. So you bring in a couple thousand people, you could get a couple extra congressmen that will represent you in Washington. But who are they representing? They're representing people that they're putting on welfare. They're representing people that are coming here illegally. You know, the census, when they wanted to do the census for 2020, they had a big battle over, can't you ask if you are a U.S. citizen? Now, the Democrats didn't want that question asked. Why? Why don't they want to know if people are U.S. citizens? Why are they fighting the idea of getting real voter ID? Why? The Republicans aren't fighting it. I'm fighting for real photo ID for voters. Why are the Democrats fighting it? You think about it. So when you've got a party that obviously is trying to take care of non-citizens as opposed to U.S. citizens, our safety is being violated. In the cities that are controlled by the Democrats, when you have the Antifa and the Black Lives Matter, when you have cities taken over by mobs, when you have people violating our borders, when you have a party that wants to take away your guns, where is your security? And like I said, the police are under fire. I wouldn't want to be a policeman nowadays, and I'll guarantee there's a lot of policemen and women that are looking for a different job now. You might not be able to find anybody that wants that job. Like I said, I wouldn't take it. I wouldn't advise anybody to take it. You have to have the right elected officials in office that represent your values. Mine are Christian, constitutional, reasonable, common sense values. If we all follow the law, we don't have a problem. When we violate our Constitution, our U.S. Constitution and our state Constitution, that's anarchy. If people can choose to follow the law or not, that's anarchy. So, your vote is your voice. And you got to see through this fog that the now regressive Socialist Democratic Party is putting out. I mean, there are people that are speaking out. There's prominent black people that are speaking out and saying, this isn't our cause. We don't want white people to be fighting for us for our civil rights. You tell me what black person doesn't have the same opportunity as a white person. And I will say that that person isn't standing up and complaining about it. If a person says, well, I couldn't get this job for some reason, I'll say, well, what did you do about it? What would you do? Complain to your friend? You're complaining to me? Do something about it. If you don't do something about it, you're a coward. Your complaints mean nothing unless you actually go to the authorities to make the complaint. So you got to think about what's going on. To my independents and my Democratic friends, and I have many, please think about what party you affiliate with. What's the truth? When I want the truth and when I feel confused about things, I'm a Christian. And I go to my Bible. I go to Jesus' Word. I look to God for answers. And I find peace when I do. So, where's the truth? It's up to you to figure out where that truth is. There are TV productions, there is radio productions, there is all sorts of media, and especially now. You can find out what the truth is if you dig deep enough. And you've got to use your critical thinking skills to understand what's really going on. If you listen to just propaganda that spews hate, you know, I don't spew hate. I talk about unity, understanding. Maybe I should have never been a cop because I always thought the best of people. I was a cop for 25 years in Philadelphia. But I always had that desire to believe the best in people. Naive, maybe, but nowadays it seems like you got to be a tough son of a gun to be able to be a policeman. I mean, it was tough back then too, but so I'm just saying, folks, that your voice is your vote. Without it, we've lost our country. So I would suggest if you want to find out what's the truth behind this Black Lives Matter and Antifa, go to the Bob Woodson, W-O-O-D-S-O-N Center, Bob Woodson Center. And it's he's got an operation called 1776unite.com. He's a black leader with a very good point of view, good Christian man. Don't have to be a Christian to be a good person, but I believe he is, and I think you'll find the truth. So stay tuned for next week's show. It should be exciting. I don't know what the topic's going to be, but it'll be good. Hopefully, people will wake up to what's going on in our country. Remember, your voice is your vote. I'm Dave Gallus, and I'm running for New Mexico State Senate in District 37. I'd appreciate your vote. Thanks.